And we are live. What is going on, legend? Well, welcome back to Beyond the 90. We've got, again, two very special guests for you. We've got Gary. Gary, how you doing, mate? You all right?
Good, thanks, mate. How are you?
All good, thank you. Yeah. I feel it's nice doing post-match after the team actually put in a half-decent performance. I know it was better than that, but God, the
Yeah.
expectations have been on the floor. So again, Mark, it's just great to see something's actually improving. And again, I just feel, again, compared to this time last week, it's amazing how one match can change everything. I think you were saying before the stream as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, living in the West Midlands as well. Lots of Villa fans around me. I've had my fun this week with them. That's for sure.
Yeah. With your podcast as well. Again, I've linked to it down below. But you have a Villa fan on it, don't you? It's pretty much
Yeah,
so.
we
It's
do.
been
Yeah, yeah.
good bullying fun.
He's still crying.
Yeah. Well, you'll be all right with the manager and the team, so that'll be all right. But just getting into some of the news, obviously around again, we're going to be covering some of the injuries. Some again good news. We've got actually players fit, which feels like a long time since that's happened. We're going to get into some of the formation tactics stuff, but just want to get your thoughts, Gary, on the Villa game in general because I can't lie. It's the first time I've watched Match of the Day about 3 times. 3 times I just kept watching it because I was like, this is great. I forgot what this is like.
Yeah, I think I was the same. I watched the game. I watched the game anyway, and then I think I watched the Sky Sports highlights whenever they came out straight away, and then still tuned in for Match of the Day as well, just to see if anybody said anything different. But it's been a while since we've been able to actually enjoy a performance. I think actually building up to it, there was a lot of excitement. I think the 3 new signings, obviously coming in January, we were all pleased with anyway. Obviously, myself and Ant were discussing that on deadline day, and then the fact that I think we were hearing rumours before that all 3 were going to be in the lineup, and you sort of see the predicted lineups. I think most people were sitting there thinking, actually, this is an exciting lineup. There were positions there, certainly with a natural right winger again, where we were sitting going like, this is going to have the balance back. Maddison back in the middle as well. We knew he was coming back fit. So, we were all sort of quietly confident in a better performance, should I say. Obviously, Villa were the form team, in the league at that point. But, I mean, overall, obviously there were some issues in the performance, which obviously we'll get onto, but I think overall you can't argue it going away, scoring 4 goals, obviously winning the game, but even from a neutral perspective, what a game it was. It was so end to end and just something happening constantly throughout, so it was pleasing we were on the right end of it this time.
Yeah, no, definitely agree. And the fact that we were on the right end of it feels like a long time since then. And just one thing you mentioned, obviously, with Tete coming into the middle, I just thought I'd bring up like a heat map of, the average positions at the moment, Mark. And it's just even then, he said that Maddison was playing in the middle. A lot of the time, he was playing up there with Iheanacho, getting the balls in. And then you've got Tete, which, again, he's been known to not defend. But looking at that, I think Maddison, even though it was a really high position, he really thrived in that position.
Yeah, he did. I noticed when we didn't have the ball, he was pressing as high as Iheanacho at that point as well. So obviously that was part of the game plan. It was great to have James Maddison back though, wasn't it? It was great to have him back in the squad because he just makes things happen for us. So you just feel like, I felt on Saturday that if Villa had scored 6, we'd have scored 7. That was the sort of way that the game was panning out. So I know that a lot of their fans have said that they had a lot of chances, they had a lot of possession. I thought we were more dangerous overall. I thought we looked like we could score more. But yeah, you're absolutely right around James Maddison's positioning. Potentially why we were so open, actually, because as part of the midfield 3, he was quite detached from them, wasn't he, the other 2?
Yeah, he was. And that's actually one thing that, again, I'll try and find the comment that Brendan put about, again, a recognised or lack of recognised CDM. Because obviously with that starting formation, it was very attacking. But that's the only way you're going to be able to get KDH, Tillemans, and Maddison in the team, as well as 2 wingers. But again, he mentioned, he goes, and the game started without a recognised CDM. He goes, you need to win the ball in midfield, but also keep it. But again, it's come from the top of the midfield as a collective effort, but it's not necessarily about someone solely winning the ball. I think that's part of what it was. It was a team performance we've not seen in a while, Gary. And again, I was a little bit concerned because we've been open defensively, and again, there was some definite times where defensively there were problems. and we can. But overall, it was pretty much a genius stroke from Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah, I think like certainly over going back a few years, not just with Leicester, but I think football in general, probably going back to that sort of famous Barcelona team, there's been this idea that you need an out and out player to be sat there to win the ball. Gone are the days where we used to be 4-4-2 everything, and normally both men in the middle kind of had to do everything. So we've obviously seen that develop. I do agree with what Brendan says in that you don't need an actual out and out defensive midfielder, but you do need players that can do that job well. I think we have seen on occasions that Tielemans can defend, and he does it well. Same with Dewsbury Hall's obviously an absolute workhorse, but can also play. So I think they have that benefit there. The partnership, it is something that can be used. But like you say, it's then if you're playing without, it's because you've got Maddison in that 10 role, which we all know is where he's best. I think if you then look to have a holding midfielder, or at least a defensive midfielder, maybe breaks that up certainly from the attacking sense, and that seemed to be the way Brendan wanted to go. He was going probably for the first time all season with two wingers that he was excited by and wanted on the front foot, rather than, I think before we've looked a little bit lopsided. We know Barnes can obviously attack, but then that right wing, Maddison's been coming inside to find the spaces rather than playing as a winger to stretch the play. So the fact that he had two wingers, I think he wanted Maddison in there to help link up. And we obviously all know how good Iheanacho is with his hold-up play and his link-up play. And obviously that showed with a goal and 2 assists. But yeah, I think there's, again, it's those sorts of things where there'll be slight tactical tweaks and stuff for certain games. Obviously Spurs being a different sort of game, I would expect him to go with a more defensive-minded midfielder in there. Obviously, we've heard that Wilfred Ndidi's back as well, so that would be a big boost. But I think from our perspective of the Villa game being very open, I like to sort of given the benefit of the doubt that with the 3 new signings going in there, there's obviously still relationships need to be formed. So Barnes and Christensen obviously developed a good sort of relationship going forward. It seems that looks like it could be fruitful, but Christensen and then his back 4 are going to obviously maybe take some time to get used to, obviously, as a defensive unit. Then alongside that, you've Harry Suter who's come in, and he's obviously then got to develop a centre-back partnership with Wout Faes, and then Castagna on the right-hand side. And I think that right-hand side at times maybe was where we got caught out. I think Castagna obviously likes to get forward, and maybe Suter needs to learn where he'll go and positioning. So I think over time that'll probably shore up anyway. But I think the midfield may be stretched a bit because there were, maybe a little bit lack of partnerships at times. But they still then didn't lose out in the attacking sense. We were able to at least, get the fruits of that. And there was a period in the game where I think we seemed to drop off. Obviously, Mike, you mentioned obviously Villa having a lot of possession and a lot of chances. There was a point I thought, are we maybe going too early on holding this lead out? But obviously, in the end, the changes were made, and even Dennis Pratt came off the bench to score a goal to see it off. But I think we will see it develop. But I think I would expect to see certainly a tweak in that to this weekend. That may even be Maddison not pushing as high, although I would like to see it.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And it's funny you mentioned about partnership. That was going to be my next point, obviously, about the partnership that are developing all over the pitch. And in general, Mark, I was thinking, in terms of, obviously, we've seen one game and we are getting carried away, but it's one of the most balanced teams I've seen in terms of literally since I was going 4-4-2, and at times we were hitting them on the counter attack. It did remind me at times like the Premier League's kind of football, a similar, same but different, relating to when we won the league. In terms of 4-4-2, quite similar, partnerships all over the pitch that are just working together, and you can see it potentially developing as well.
I think you need to calm down a little bit, Neil. That's my first response to that. Listen, I get what you're saying. Partnerships are key. I think defensively, that's got to be worked on quite a bit at the minute. I really like Victor Christensen. There's something about him. I think the fans will absolutely love him. I think he wears his heart on his sleeve. He's going to be the sort of player that's going to put a tackle in and raise the tempo of a game and raise the atmosphere in games. And I think he'll be really good. Harry Souttar, I thought, struggled a little bit, if I'm honest. The own goal was unfortunate, and you've got to look a little bit at the goalkeeper for going down as early as he went down for that. But that's going to come in time. These guys have only just sort of learnt each other's names, really. Certainly from a Tete point of view, he doesn't speak English. But it's going to take time. What we have seen there, and where we will see some more partnership work come in, is probably when Ricardo comes back in at right back as well, because him and Tete look like they've got the makings of a bit of a friendship there, and communicate with each other quite clearly as well. So great news about Ricardo Pereira being back again.
Yeah, exactly. So again, just if you've not mentioned it, Brendan Rodgers has confirmed Ricardo is back in the squad, and he played 70 minutes for the under-23s. With Rodgers saying he looks great. I mean, Gary, it's been so long, hasn't it, since we've had like a Ricardo back, and hopefully this time again we nurse him in slowly. We don't have to rush him in because Castagna's on good form. However, I do think again it's brilliant news for us Leicester fans. Again, the fact that he's fit.
Yeah, I think when we look at the prime Brendan Ball era, shall we say, of those 2 seasons where we finished 5th, Ricardo Pereira. At that time, we were so excited about him, talking about him being, one of the best fullbacks in the league, because he was able to, obviously defend. He's got his pace. He can put across it, but he was also coming up with goals, and some great goals he's actually scored for Leicester. Not many, but the ones he has have been very good. So, we know what he's capable of at his best, and I think, obviously the injury, first time rounds, unfortunately, things do happen in football. We get that, and then I think all Leicester fans were gutted on that sense. Then, we seem to have a host then, because obviously James Justin had his injuries, Castagna was in and out for a couple of times. So, it was a bit of a shame. But when you see any player on the sideline for that long, it's always difficult, and you always want them to come back quickly. But when it's a player of that quality, it can't be replaced, and don't get me wrong, I think Castagna is a brilliant player, and I think he's been fantastic for us. Certainly he's sort of nailed down that spot, but I think if Ricardo gets anywhere near back to his best, he will be straight in that team. And it's good because it gives us options again. But yeah, I think then obviously the knock-on effect was because of the injuries we had. Then when he was starting to come back, he was kind of had to be put in, and then I think he was rushed back and he was out again. So he has had a long spell out on the sidelines now. So we can only hope that's the end of his bad luck with that, because I think we all love seeing him play in a Leicester shirt.
It's looking positive though, isn't it, at the minute on the injury front? Everyone that he's talking about is getting close to returning, including of course Ryan Bertrand, Neil. So I know you'll be excited about that one. Hooray!
But the next person is actually back because Wilfred Ndidi again come back, but I can't see him coming back into the team as part of that. But I can't see Wilfred Ndidi coming back into the team. Or Mark, you see him any advance of, because considering the team is so strong and the squad is so strong, anybody really getting into that midfield?
I think Ndidi's been probably one of the biggest disappointments of the season, if not the last 2 seasons, really, because I really felt in his first season and a half, 2 seasons, that he was going to surpass the levels of N'Golo Kante at one stage and be that all-action midfielder and really be the difference between winning games and losing games. And he's sort of flattered to deceive a little bit in that role. And I know he's been unlucky with injuries, and when he's come back and he's not quite looked right, I think he's got a lot to do to win his place back. And if you, again, went back 18 months and you were talking like that about Ndidi, you'd have been really questioning where that came from. There was a stat that Steve on our show kept bringing up the season we finished 5th last, was that in the games when Tielemans and Ndidi started together, I don't think we'd lost any out of like 19 or 20 games. So that's how strong they were in the centre of midfield. So I'm rooting for him because I know there's a great player in there. Would I start him on Saturday? Probably not. I'd probably put him behind Mendy at the minute, and that's probably shows how far he's sort of fallen. So for me, still a good player in there, still someone I want to succeed. But next time he gets his opportunity, I think he needs to grab it with both hands.
Yeah. And he really needs to do that, and that's an issue we have at the moment. Again, it's good that we've got strength and depth, Gary, but again, in that position, partly because the midfield's working so well, but even a player like we get, as Mark was saying, Wilfred Ndidi probably can't get near, and that's just because. What game did I watch him? And he was just the ball was just taken. I think it might have been what was it called? It's Forest or something, and it just the ball was nicked off him all the time, which is like the least Ndidi thing I've seen. But it's been consistent like that since the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I think this is the thing. Obviously, it's great to have him back from injury, but before that, you would probably have been questioning his place in the starting 11 on his form alone this season. Obviously, like Mark said, even stretching back a bit further, it's not been at the top levels that it had been before. He's still an unbelievable player. We know that. I mean, he is a defensive midfielder. That's what he is. He's not going to score us goals. He's not going to spray balls all around the pitch. But, when he's partnered with somebody like Tielemans who can do that from deep, or, Maddison further forward, that's fine. You don't need him to do that. It's what we were sort of saying. I was saying earlier, if you don't always need a defensive midfielder, but if you have one, you need people around him to do the other jobs and need to do the other jobs well. But yeah, I think I agree with you. Certainly on the Mendy point that you mentioned, like I think Mendy has to be the most underrated player we've had probably over the last 3 or 4 years. Obviously he was left out of the 25-man squad at one point, and like I've always quite liked him. I've just never been able to see enough of him. But and Brendan Rodgers touched on it before, where he come in and he actually was the only one able to pass a ball. I think that was the Forest game. You said, and he does. He gets around the pitch well. He does break up play, but he can drive forward with it. And I think sometimes with Ndidi, it kind of you don't want him to stride forward with it, because you worry if he does get it nicked off him, he hasn't quite got the pace to get back. And I think I wouldn't be starting him in this game if it was me. I think he's only just coming back from injury. I would imagine we're more likely to play on a counter-attacking side. So if the midfield's already going to be close to the defence, do you need somebody to marshal in front? Maybe not. If the midfielders are already going to be quite deep, they both have the defensive work. And I think Tielemans and Dewsbury Hall would do well in front of that back four. But that's not to say you wouldn't bring him on later on in the game to shore things up, because his defensive qualities. But he does, I think you're right, he does still need to start producing and getting back to his best, because when he is at his best, he is up there with some of the best holding midfielders in world football.
Yeah, it really is. And we've seen him again put unbelievable performance after unbelievable performance. And in the game, I mean, again, we can't see him coming on from the opposite view. From Spurs' perspective, Mark, you've seen the amount of players that are kind of out for that. So Basuma's missing, Romero's missing, Lloris is missing, so Romero got in twice. But yeah, so Romero, Lloris, and Basuma are all missing for the game. So it looks like Tottenham at home, as I think for the majority of the time, has always been a really good game for us. But coming into that, obviously with them 3 injuries, it's got to work a little bit again, as we were saying, with us coming back and then some main players getting injured. It's got to work in our favour, right?
I hope so. You look at it and you look at the other end of the pitch and think Harry Kane scored 18 goals in 15 games against us, which is a stat I know all of us hate, and we hate it with a passion. But we hate it with a passion because it hurts every time he scores. Son as well, he's known for scoring a goal against us as well. I think we stand a good chance on Saturday, and I think the mindset has changed because of the way that we approach the Villa game. So I don't think we've got anything to fear. Their second choice goalkeeper and a couple of the second choice centre backs, and obviously no Basuma as well. It's going to be a blow to them. But sometimes animals can be at their most dangerous when they're wounded, can't they? And we have to be careful of that. But in terms of the way that I think we should approach it, I'd go with the same 11 for Saturday and go exactly the same again. If Iheanacho is not starting on Saturday, I'm writing. because I don't know what else the guy can do. You know, it would be an absolute scandal if he wasn't starting on Saturday.
You can't drop a player, that you've put into the team on his first start for a long, a period there, who's got a goal and 2 assists and completely linked up the play. I mean, there's no way you can drop him. And Brendan said he likes the way he links up play, but he needed the right characters, as he likes to use, around him. But he's now got that. It made a difference. So I think, Iheanacho has to start. And I agree with Mark there. If we go about it in the same similar way against Villa, do you know what? If we go there and we try to attack them and we have a go at them and we come away with a loss, I think we'll all chalk it up and go, well, look, it's Spurs. We're still not round this corner. We're trying to turn the corner, but we're not round it. So, I would go with the same 11 as well.
We need that level of consistency, though. That is huge for us. So I think this game is probably as bigger, if not bigger, than last weekend. So last weekend we needed a win, but we have to follow it up with another win. I don't really care how we get that this weekend, but the Spurs are there for the taking for mine, Willie, and I'd love us to love it if we could beat them.
I'm hoping so. Again, I've got something up at the moment. Again, that's kind of the formation we went for, kind of a 4-3-3 with Tete and Madison playing quite high. Again, I'm with you. I don't think that's really going to change, because I think at the beginning of the season, Gary, we have seen it chop and change so many times. Now this feels like, right, we've got to win. Teams, you feel like it's in another solid place. We've got to keep the same 11, right?
Yeah, I think it's like you say, we've all kind of said it as well. I think this is the first time now we're looking at our squad and we can see an 11. I mean, yes, okay, you've got the likes of Johnny Evans to come back from injury. You've got Ricardo, who's obviously on his way back. Indeed, he's coming back in. But that's just good news that we're now starting to get a squad of players. I think where we had it before, and there was a lot of chopping and changing, there was obviously quite a lot the games up before the World Cup. We had a lot of injuries, so it's more chopped and changed out of necessity. I mean, none of us wanted to see James Maddison pushed out to the right wing, but Brendan Rodgers, I don't think his hands were tied in the sense that he didn't have anybody that could help play the same way he would want to. Mark Albrighton's a fantastic player and been a great servant, and but he's a different kind of winger. So he wanted Maddison to give us that attacking sense. So I think it was chopped and changed a lot for that. But if you look along that 11 there, it's a strong, balanced 11. And like Mark says, if we can start to get some consistency in the performances, the squad, the form, we know what we're capable of. We will drag ourselves away from this relegation battle as quickly as we put ourselves in it at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, we are still in it, Mark, at the moment. So only 4 points off the bottom. But do you know what? It's for the first time in, I think, quite a while, we're looking up rather than looking down, because at the end of the day, we are still 3 points off Everton at the moment.
Yeah, it's tight, isn't it, Neil? It's one of the things, if you were to ask me in my life what things keep you up at night at the minute, I would say this league table is one of them. It's particularly tight. It doesn't make for great reading, and we're behind that team in 13th that, we shouldn't really be behind as well. So a couple of wins would be really great. But I think a lot of it is around mindset, because we went into these fixtures, the Villa and, even the Brighton one before that, where we got a point and arguably could have picked up all 3, thinking they were going to be defeats. And then suddenly, if you get a result at the weekend, you go into Man U and Arsenal with nothing to fear. And you can get points out of them in those 2 games. So it is tight, but there's a long, long way left to go this season. I look at that. I look at Bournemouth and I look at Southampton. And I think they're probably 2 teams that will go down this season. I'd be surprised if they didn't. And then you could really pick any out of the next 7 or 8 teams, not discounting Crystal Palace and Forest as well. So probably anywhere from 12th downwards is still in a bit of a pickle. Villa will probably be all right with the quality they've got in the squad and the manager they've got as well. So, and I think Liverpool might just survive.
Yeah. Liverpool, again, they're on a free fall at the moment, but I think you're right. In terms of, I think Bournemouth and Southampton, considering I don't understand both of their managerial appointments, to be perfectly honest with you, but they've both splashed the money, and it's that 3rd place. I think Everton is that team that I think they'll be safe now, but Who is yours? Who do you think is going to go? Again, it's very early, Gary, but still, in terms of the relegation battle, who do you think your three favourites to go down?
I mean, obviously we can't ignore the fact that Southampton and Bournemouth have lingered down there and haven't seemed to have moved as much as maybe the next sort of 5-6 teams. Obviously, Forest were right down in that, and they've picked up a little bit of form, unfortunately. But you know, I actually really like Nathan Jones. I sort of followed him a little bit before he went to Luton as well, and it'd be a shame because I think Southampton are a good team. I think we all see them as a Premier League team now. I just think it's maybe lack of investment in the right areas over the last few years has, caught up with them a little bit. The same way Sunderland did all those years ago, where it was stay up, stay up, stay up, stay up. That was all it ever was, and then it's kind of caught up. But I think Southampton and Bournemouth haven't really shown that much to say they're up for the fight. If you look at the other teams there above them, Everton beating Arsenal, Leeds unlucky to draw in the end at United, but still to go 2 goals away at Man United in what is a rival derby match for them as well. I actually did think Wolves would be the next ones. I didn't see much from them, but again, I think they do have quality in that squad, which may be a bit of experience. And obviously, I don't expect to see West Ham down there, but they are. I think West Ham and us are having very similar seasons, and just missing out that Europe and haven't seemed to rebuild after that. But I actually agree with what Mark said in terms of Crystal Palace. I think they're kind of riding a bit of a wave. I think I had it. Somebody sent it to me somewhere. Their next list of fixtures coming up, I would say that Palace fans are looking at it. In fact, here, I have it here. So they've Brighton, Brentford, Liverpool, Villa, Man City, Arsenal, then us in April, and then it's Leeds and Southampton. By which point they could well be in a relegation battle. So I can see it being tight down there, but I'd say I'm probably sitting on the fence here. So if I'm going to pick one, I'm gonna throw the hat out and say Palace, just to mix it up.
Fair enough. I mean, it's a good shout because again, it is still tight down there, and as you were saying, anything can happen. But at least it's not just at the time there was seems like a few teams are moving away, and at the time I think the bottom 4 teams were all Midlands clubs. I think it was at the beginning of the season. Us, Wolves were terrible. Nottingham Forest were crap. We were crap, and we all kind of move away. And it just shows you the pull power. Like in the relegation zone, I'm still not sure how Wolves have managed to get Lopetegui, and it's a fantastic appointment on their behalf. And even Villa in Emery, I remember seeing that going, God, that's not going to happen, is it?
Yeah,
he's gone there.
If you speak to any Villa fan, Neil, they're the biggest club in the world, aren't they? So that's the reason why they've got. That's the reason why they've managed to get Emery. But Wolves, I'm adamant, and I have been since day one of Lopetegui coming in, that they will not go down this season. They've got a lot of quality in the side, and you can't not score goals for the whole season. Usually, it balances itself out a little bit. And the way that they tore Liverpool to pieces last week, I'd expect them to do the same to a few sides between now and the end of the season. The days of getting smashed 4-0 at home to teams like us are probably gone for them. What a great day that was, by the way. All of my in-laws support Wolves, so
even better for you.
Still reveling in that one. But Crystal Palace, if we win at the weekend, Palace are going to be exactly the same predicament that we're in terms of points, and they've got that tough run as well. So, I wouldn't disagree there with what Gary's saying about them potentially getting dragged down. And you look at sides that could go maybe 7, 8, 9 games without a win, and you wouldn't be surprised if Crystal Palace was one of those sides. So let's see. I think it's exciting. I'd rather us not be down there and be part of it.
Yeah.
But I hope that we've got enough about us to keep ourselves up, because relegation would be a disaster for this football club. There's no two ways about that.
I think if you actually look at that bottom half of the table, I think relegation would be a disaster for any of those clubs at this point. There's so many huge clubs there. I mean, yes, all right, Bournemouth coming up, Leeds not been in the Premier League that long in the scheme of it, but like any of those clubs suffer madly when if any of them go down. So hopefully it's not us that has to deal with the suffering. But I could say nearly anybody. I think Villa, like you say, with Emery and the squad they have, probably enough already to be away from that. But you look there, there's wins for Everton, wins for West Ham, Leeds, Wolves. We've won. Forest are playing well, so that chasing pack there could quite quickly catch up with Palace if they don't start winning games.
I don't know about you, Gary, but I looked at this list of fixtures before Brighton, thinking we'd be doing really well if we weren't bottom after those 5 games. So the fact that we picked 4 points up from those 2, hopefully we'll get some more at the weekend as well. It's sort of going better than I thought it would, if that makes sense. Yeah,
definitely. I think those 2 games were key in keeping us, well, basically being where we are now and being in that bottom end. I think we all knew Everton were going to change the manager at some point as well. They've brought in Sean Dyche, who now we know they're going to be harder to beat. So they may, whether they get as many wins is still yet to be seen. But if they're going to pick up draws and points, that's what matters in that battle. So I agree with you. I think those 4 points there are huge and could be huge come the end of the season. But getting them into this run of games we have now, I mean, it excites me. I don't know about you guys. It excites me the fact that we can sit here and go, right, well, these 3 games we have coming up, just go for them. You've nothing to lose now. We've seen that. We've already mentioned that Everton beating Arsenal. Leeds coming close against United. Wolves beating Liverpool. Like that's the way to go at these teams. So I would like to see that, and I would like to see that same team that played against Villa in these next few games and really have a go at these bigger teams, because any point that we gain here is a bonus.
What we've got to do is beat some of these sides in the top half of the table, though, because that has been such a problem for us.
Yeah, definitely. So again, looking at them in terms of top half, you're looking at even going so far up. You've got again Brentford. I think Thomas Frank's doing a fantastic job. Marcus Silva's doing a fantastic job, and De Zerbi as well. Considering he's such a good. Again, we do need to put up points against them and against some of these teams, and you're looking at it going, it isn't out of the question, Obviously, Newcastle, I think they're through, but considering where Tottenham are, instead of that high up, it is an opportunity for us to kind of prove what we're made of. Because I don't think, speaking to Ant, I don't think we've won a game for somebody that's above 12th in 2022. This could be our opportunity to break it.
Look how many games they've lost, O'Neill. And you look at Spurs, they've lost as many games as anyone else in the top half of the table. So they are there for the beating. I don't think Conte is going to be there at the weekend either, as he's still recovering from surgery. So I really think we've got a great opportunity, as long as we don't show any fear. I think as soon as you start to show fear and start showing sides like that too much respect, then it goes by the wayside a little bit.
I think the fact that we've got the Brazilian flags will be out, the fact that we've got the new signings, it's at the place, and it's against Tottenham. I think all these little factors, Gary, will really tie into the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the other thing. Like we've said, we've obviously had the boost of the point against Brighton, which I think we should have walked away with the 3 points, bar some horrific defending in the last minute. Great header, but still terrible defending. And then you picked up a vital win going into this fixture. We're also now getting the news that Ricardo Pereira's back going to be in the matchday squad. You've got Johnny Evans on the cusp of coming back. Wilfred Ndidi's coming back. So for once, we're getting quite a lot of positive injury news. On the flip side, you've got Tottenham, who they don't seem to know whether they're coming or going in terms of their season. One of my best friends is a Spurs fan, and he says it's completely like Jekyll and Hyde. He's just like, at the minute it's just vibes. He doesn't know what's going to happen game to game, and you get that feeling with Spurs. So unfortunately, they could turn up and they could blow us out of the water. But at the same time, if you go at them and you go for them and you put up a fight, then anything can happen against them. Like Mark said there, they've lost just as many games as anybody in that bottom half of the table. Why not go for them? I think the the only thing is, obviously, we all know Harry Kane's going to score against us because, when doesn't he? But at least we feel now that we have, that balance and that attacking prowess, certainly from that Villa game, that, do you know what? If he goes and scores 2 goals, then we can go score 4.
Yeah. I'm hoping so because, again, Mark, their lineup, even then, Kulusevski, Son, Kane, and then you got Perisic as well. Apparently, again, I interviewed Sam for the SKA's game, and he was going, what's it called? Emerson Royale actually had a good game. I still don't rate him as a player. Yeah, which is really but attacking wise, I mean, it's always an exciting game against Tottenham, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. What we have to do is to defend better than we did last weekend. That is a key priority for us, I think, in terms of winning this game, because you can't keep relying on scoring 3 or 4 goals. Although I think, actually, looking at their back line, there is potential to score a few. Eric Dyer, Davis is all right. Emerson Royale on his day is okay, but they're there to be got at. Yeah, they're there to be got at. And do you know what? I'm really, really looking forward to it on Saturday. And I've not felt like that. I've probably not felt like that all season. Probably apart from Boxing Day at Newcastle, because we had such a big gap before that game. But I think it's going to be a great atmosphere, and I really hope the fans get behind the lads. 3 new players set to play. We need to show them what the King Power Stadium is. I went back 20 years then. King Power Stadium's all about, and we need to get that place rocking on Saturday. So let's strike a little bit of fear into the heart of them. Let's make it Leicester not an easy place to come. That's the reason why some of those sides down there will stay up. Forest will stay up because going to Nottingham is a hard place to go to because of the atmosphere and everything that goes with that. And we need to make the same happen at Leicester.
Yeah, I mean, Everton did the same thing last year. You saw when they were really in that dogfight, their fans really got behind them, and Goodison Park was a tough place to go. So you're right, like there is teams down there. I think it does so excite you though, because if obviously we know Romero's out, I'd expect Davison Sanchez to come in.
Brilliant.
Absolutely. It'll be interesting to see whether Emerson Royale does play. Or if they bring the new lad in, Pedro Porro. Obviously, they've just signed. He'd have been training with them for a week, so I'd maybe expect to see him come in. But Spurs like to play with this back 3, which if Maddison is pushing up to support Iheanacho, certainly when we have the ball, and the wingers can get beyond their fullbacks, it should make for a very open game at that end. It's just when obviously they then push forward, they have almost those 5 players coming at you. So, defensively, we are going to have to be clever, I think, at times to make sure we are shored up. But we then also have that pace on the counter-attack. So, it could make for an exciting game.
It's going to be a key battle in the midfield, isn't it? With Højbjerg and Bentancur against Tielemans and probably KDH. That's going to be a massive, massive battle, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, again, as you were saying, Maddison playing in that half space just behind, and you've got the likes of Tete with his running and Harvey Barnes. If he picks up a little bit of confidence, we know what he can do. And against that back line that is looking a bit shaky, I mean, it could be an opportunity to really go for them, I think. And it's a good time to play them, especially with the injuries. And I think they've got Forster in goal, who I think that I speak to Sam because the only game he played in was when they were 2-0 up. And they end up drawing 2, or they were 2-0 down. They end up drawing 2-2. So Forster's there to be got at.
Yeah, I mean, he is a cut goalkeeper, and he is obviously. I mean, he's an experienced goalkeeper. So but that's the thing. Any sort of like I'm a goalkeeper, or was a goalkeeper, should I say? Like if I was in his shoes, I'd be just wanting to get that first save, that first catch, that first cross, or whatever it is. But if he's sitting there thinking, right, well, my first game is going to be against a team that have just put 4 past Aston Villa, who were the form team last week, he's going to have Tete, Barnes, Iheanacho, Maddison coming towards him with now a back line that isn't their first choice back line. Obviously, Romero out. I would be slightly concerned. So if there is any nerves from him, obviously he's a professional footballer. You'd probably say there is no nerves, but you need to test them, that back line, and certainly Forster nice and early and go for them.
going to make a bold prediction and think Wout Faes is going to score his first goal for us on the weekend. I've just a funny feeling that
he scored us before, mate. He scored he scored before, don't you remember?
he's doing well for Liverpool this season, isn't he? But
He's their top joint scorer in 2023.
Yeah,
I
I've
think.
just got a feeling that we're going to attack from set pieces in a slightly different way. I like the way Christensen swings the ball in from a set piece. I thought he was particularly handy last weekend at that. And I think all of the attention will go on Harry Souttar because he's an absolute giant of a man, isn't he? 6'6", makes Vestergaard look tiny and quick.
He can actually get off the ground, which is
surprising.
He jumps,
He won his headers. Yeah, it was ridiculous. I've just got a funny feeling that Wout Faes is going to score on Saturday. So you heard that here first.
Sounds good. Be a lovely clip to put out as well. And I think just one person I was gonna mention as well is Souttar. Again, in this game, he didn't have the best of performances, but I was okay with it because you could see he was adjusting. And I think as he grew into the game and as he got confidence, he was performing better and better. But in this game, I think against that back line of Harry Kane, Kulusevski and Son, he's really going to be tested, isn't he, Gary? And I think I've got a feeling that I'm like, bring it on. Let's see what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that'll phase him. I mean, he faced Argentina in the World Cup only a couple of months ago, and he was fantastic in that game. So and he had the likes of Di Maria, Martinez, Messi, Alvarez running at him. So I don't think in that sense it'll be phased. He'll be there and he'll do his job as he did for Australia, as he's done for Stoke this season. He was a little bit shaky, I think, in that first game, but he was signed literally days before the game. It was a bit different to Christensen. Obviously, he came in earlier in the window. He was able to play a part in the FA Cup game the week before with Walsall. So he had a bit of time. I think it's different for attacking players. Obviously, Tete's come in brilliant, but again, he also sort of had a week or so to train. Whereas Souttar, he came in. I think there was a bit of a relationship gap with him and Castagna more than him and Wout Faes. I thought him and Wout Faes looked okay, but I didn't think he did anything particularly wrong. His positioning was maybe a bit questionable, but I think that will come with learning a new shape, learning a new system, which obviously they would have looked at and they would have gone through and worked on all week. And look, he was unfortunate with the own goal. We've seen them. If a ball gets smashed across the goal, he's tried to stick a leg out. Unfortunately, it's gone for him, and Danny Ward's already committed to coming for the cross, which it's unfortunate. It could have hit the side net and it could have gone out for a corner. We wouldn't have been bothered. But what was good to see, and I hope that he kind of got that idea, was I didn't see any fans slating him for that. Yes, it was great because it happened in the game. We won 4-2. We didn't lose, 3-2 because of that or anything. But no fans seemed to be giving off. Obviously, everybody was raving about Tete. I think a lot of fans were happy to see Christensen because I think we can all agree it was a big upgrade for Luke Thomas. I like Luke Thomas and I would like him to have a good future, but I think Christensen just stepped up that level, which hopefully will help push Luke Thomas on. But for Harry Souttar coming in the back line, it was a steady game. If you take the own goal out, it was a steady game. And actually from a defender, that's all you want. And it will settle in and it will form that partnership. So I think he it was just good to see that nobody was giving off saying, we've wasted money. Why did you put him in straight away? He was only just signed, blah, blah, blah. All the fans seemed to still be backing him, and there was still that feel good about. So I think he'll do rightly, and I think it'll be an interesting battle. I can imagine him marking Harry Kane for the majority of set pieces and things like that and whatnot. Maybe even just throughout the game with Faes being a bit more aggressive to maybe go and win that ball off the likes of Son and Kulusevski if they drift inside. So it makes for interesting matchups, definitely.
Yeah, no, I definitely think so. And I think, again, it's a good time to kind of come together and with everything kind of hopefully moving in a positive direction and getting something out of the game. And yeah, I think pretty much that's just it. I mean, in terms of the only other thing is Johnny Evans is not quite fit for the game. I can't really see Mark can't really seeing him getting in the squad when he is fully fit because Who will he take the place of? And when Johnny Evans has come on this season, I'm going to be honest, it might just be confidence. He's not looked that great.
It takes time, doesn't it, to build a certain level of fitness around getting back into the side. I think he'll be in the squad. Don't get me wrong. I think he'll probably replace Çağlar Söyüncü in the squad, and I think he'll be there for us when we're closing games out, like we did with Söyüncü last week, to bring someone on to steady the ship a little bit. But I think Fas and Sousa are going to be the partnership now for hopefully years to come, if it all works out well. And what I really liked about both Sousa and Christensen last week was the passion that they showed. And, you know, it's a bit of a joke amongst Leicester fans, isn't it? We need passion and all the rest of it. But there was a particular moment, wasn't there, when Sousa made a great block from Ollie Watkins and Victor Christensen stood there celebrating it, fist pumping and all the rest of that. And I'd love to see that. I want players that care about this club, because half of the problem this season and part of the reason we're in the situation we're in is it felt like the players didn't have that bottle in that fight. So to see that visibly on the pitch is brilliant. And yeah, more of the same really on Saturday. And here's to a beer before the game and 3 points afterwards.
Let's hope so. But yeah, I think that's, again, I'm hoping again, it's so much better to be doing this than doing the opposite that we were doing again even a week ago. But Gary, yeah, thank you so much for coming on. Gary, again, I've left your Twitter and your Twitch down below, but feel free to plug away yourself as well.
Yeah, no, just nice and simply C92, both Twitch and Twitter. So yeah, appreciate you having me on. Good to be back.
Yeah, no worries. Again, feel free to come on anytime. And Mark, I've linked your podcast, your Twitter down below, but feel free to plug away as well.
Yeah, nice one, mate. Cheers.
No worries. Okay, cool. But yeah, no worries. Again, if you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll be back for the post-match on Saturday, but we'll see you all then. See you later. Goodbye.